Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we are diving into the fascinating world of .NET MAUI and demystifying a crucial method that you will encounter in your app development journey, that is initialize component. I am Kaushik Chowdhury, your host, and let's get started. So, we will be covering these chapters or these sections, introduction, and the first section is what is the initialize component, where does it appear. Section 3 is the magic UI, the magic behind UI initialization, and the best practices and gotchas, and the conclusion. So first section is what is initialize component. Alright, let's kick things off by understanding what this mysterious initialize component method is all about. In a nutshell, it's the bridge between your XAML designs, XAML design, and the actual runtime objects in your .NET MAUI app. So let's flip over to Visual Studio to demonstrate all this. Now I have loaded the notes project that we built in my previous lecture, and this is the Android simulator. Now you can see a bunch of text over here and there is a button. So this is the UI part and this is the XAML code, that is main page.xaml code, which is responsible for bringing this hello world. Hello world comes from here, hello world with the exclamation mark with the label. It's on a label, and this second label is showing welcome to .NET Multi-Platform App UI by Kaushik RC, and this is the click me button. Simple as that. Now, when you design your user interface using XAML, you define buttons, labels, layouts, and more. But how do these elements come to life? That's where initialize component steps in. So that's what is being dealt with the section 2. Where does it appear? Now you might wonder why this method seems to pop up everywhere. Now still shown that this method is popping up everywhere. So let's go back to the code. Now I will break the application, stop the application. Now let's see the CS code. See, initialize component, main page.xaml.cs. AppShell.xaml also has the initialize component method being called in the public constructor of AppShell, as well as app. So app, which is deriving from the base class application, also has the initialize component, and then the main page has got an instance of the AppShell. Alright, so just as I showed it in your AppShell, you will find in your app class, you will find it. There it is, and even in your individual pages or views which are not there, but if you are going to make it, it will be there in the CS file initialize component. Why? Because each class has its own XAML defined UI component. Think of it like assembling a puzzle. Each piece is a UI element that needs to be put in place, whether it's the overall app layout or a specific page. Now let's see what is there in the section 3. So section 3 is the magic behind UI initialization. Now let's peek behind the curtain. When you call initialize component, it does a few critical things. So if you go back to your initialize components, okay, so we say that it does a few critical things. What are these critical things? It instantiates UI elements. It creates the actual objects for your buttons, labels, and other UI components. And it also sets properties. It configures properties like text, colors, and sizes. And it also wires up events. It connects event handlers. So when you tap that button, something magical happens. Okay, so like when you tap this button, so if you again run the application, Without this method, your UI won't render correctly. Imagine a screen full of blank buttons. Yikes. Now, so lastly, the last section is about the best practices and gotchas. So first, there are a few tips. First is binding and dependency injection. Now you have to ensure proper binding and dependency injection. If you are using model view model, set up your view models correctly and avoid manual edits. Don't manually edit the initialize component method. Let the XAML compiler handle it. Now these things I will cover in another lecture, but I will just show you a bit of the code and initialize component. This one is, if you look into the definition, go to the definition, so it gets generated app.xaml.sg.cs. so this is the initialize component method. It gets generated automatically. Okay, so changes to this file may cause incorrect behavior, so and will be lost if the code is regenerated. Alright, so you never tinker with the initialize component. And also, if something is wonky, for example, when you need debugging, check your XAML syntax or any missing resources. Okay, it's just not about writing code only, it's about writing the smart code. So with this I will conclude, and that the initialize component method is now demystified. So next time you see it, you will know it's the secret sauce making your UI sparkle. So here you can see that it is also calling an extension method load from XAML. So let's see in quickly what this method does. So this is, it's the extension static class, and load from XAML. I've got 3 overloads. So XAML loader dot load, and also this takes another set of arguments in its constructor, and then another one. So what this load from XAML is, so we'll have a quick look at what this load XAML at a runtime says. This is the Microsoft article resource. So when a .NET multi-platform app UI XAML class is constructed, load from XAML method is indirectly called. This occurs because the code behind file for a XAML class calls the initialize component method, which I have just shown, like the main page calling initialize component method. So when the Visual Studio builds a project containing a XAML file, a source generator generates new C# source that contains a definition of initialize component method and adds it to the compilation object. Okay, so this initialize component method calls the load from XAML method to extract the XAML compiled binary or its file from the app package. After extraction, it initializes all of the objects defined in the XAML, connects them all together in parent-child relationship, attaches event handlers defined in the code to events set in the XAML file, and sets the resultant tree of objects at the content of the page. So this you can further read about, this load XAML at runtime. Okay, but this is all important. Load this initialize component. It initializes all the component when the page is first loaded. Alright, so if you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe for more .NET MAUI goodness, and let me know in the comments. So finally, thanks for watching and happy coding, my fellow .NET enthusiasts. Until next time, I am Kaushik signing off. Thank you.